All right, hey everybody, and welcome to Schoolism interview. This one is with a super talented artist. When I first met her, I didn't know that she was so bloody talented. So I am very excited to kind of learn more about this wonderful person named Naomi Baker. Oh my goodness. Naomi, welcome to Schoolism interviews.
Yes, thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure, my honor. Your stuff is blowing my mind. As I was looking through the slideshow and everything, I was like, holy smokes, because you're kind of a low-key person, wouldn't you say? Like, you know what I mean? In a scale of 1 to 10, when you think about the people that are low-key or really kind of in your face, you're definitely on the latter, like the, low-key side, yeah?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so funny because many people, they don't know that when I met you, it was in Denver on like some schoolism workshop trip, and you're there to hang out, and we had a great time, and I didn't really know any of the art and all the awesomeness behind the person that I was just hanging out with.
Yeah, I love to sort of be somewhat of a face in a crowd a lot of times, especially if I go to conventions, things like that. I just kind of like to roam around, poke my head in to see what people are up to and ask a few questions, but definitely kind of be a little bit
Introverted?
anonymous. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Introverted though.
Do you remember any kinds of stories that related to your introvertedness as a younger person?
um,
Or it wasn't that bad? Because the way that you were saying it, I was like thinking, oh, well, maybe you were very introverted as a child.
I think, yeah, I've always been kind of like quiet, introverted, um, don't like to waste words, that type of thing. Just in my head sometimes.
No, I
Yeah,
asked
I've always
because
been that way.
I was one of those kids where the
Mm,
teacher remarked about like how introverted I was. I was extremely, which is kind of weird to kind of,
really?
yeah.
Hard to imagine.
Oh yeah, my mom showed me a report card from like kindergarten or something just saying Bobby is very good at always remembering to get juice during juice time, and he likes to play with blocks, and he doesn't talk to anybody. That's what I remember.
Thanks, teacher.
Well, anyways, I digress. Speaking of kind of being a bit more a face in the crowd, things like that, are you the type of person that is like, oh, if I just keep my head down, work real hard, people will notice and I will climb up the ladder? Or are you the other kind where it's like, hey, I did this, and not that it's like that, but you know what I mean.
I do, I do. I was and I am mostly the latter. Wait, the first part that you said, just working hard. I like to do life drawing all the time, and I haven't really put my work out there or tried to be like, show my work that much until, I mean, I guess several years ago. I do post. I had posted things from time to time, but until a couple years ago, when I saw everyone else doing it and it looked really fun, um, I'll put stuff out now. So
And my goodness, I gotta mention the whole fact that you work at Marvel on Marvel movies, top secret stuff that we can't talk about, but we can definitely say that you are one of those extremely elite artists that work there full time. Or are you freelance or are you full time?
it's full time freelance. So freelance.
Okay, but hey, you're part of the staff pretty much. You're
Mhm.
working on all the legit stuff there. And I'm assuming none of those projects have come out yet.
No, I've been there. I've been working with them for about 9 months now. So
Okay,
fairly newish.
wonderful. And before that, you were in games before that, or was it some other shows? And
Before that, technically, I did work at Netflix, very short stint, maybe 6 months or so. But before that, I had been in video games for over 10 years. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And the types of genres, there's so many different types of video games. So I guess yours would be more representational, highly representational, realistic type of video games. Yeah.
Yeah. When I first started out, my first job was at Activision in Santa Monica, and it was like an in-house sort of outsourcing studio. And a lot of us got to touch on different aspects of production because different IPs would come to us to do bits and pieces, such as like ZBrush, a detail on a character, or storyboarding, background design, character design, snippets, 3D and 2D. So, but they were all pretty realistic. I mean, think Call of Duty.
Well, you know what? This is getting really interesting. Just the little bits that you've told me so far, because what I'm kind of picturing in my head is somebody that, doesn't care to be in the spotlight, likes to do her thing, maybe would lean towards a bit more of the shy kind of part as opposed to very outgoing and stuff like that. Yet you climbed to many people's absolute life goal, I should say, in a good amount of time. So I want to ask, if we go back through memory lane a little bit to that very first job at Activision, if we go back to when you were applying, when you got interviewed, when you start your very first day, can you think about any of the nervous kind of points that you had? Situations that you think other people that maybe are on the same level of, shy or outgoing as you are, that they could use and perhaps help in their own careers?
So at that point, I had only student work, life drawing to be more precise. That was on a blog spot.
Wow.
Shout out to Blogspot. But an artist reached out from Activision, and one of them happened to be leaving and was reaching out to see if I would be interested. And I didn't know much about concept art, but what I did have was a passion for video games and, anime, just like all the cool stuff that I was into. And when they reached out to me, I am kind of stubborn, so I said yes, even though I didn't quite know exactly how to do anything that they were asking. But there are figures involved, and I can draw the figure, and I like video games, so let's just go for it and see where it goes.
Do you remember how you felt before the interview? Like if you're shy or not or whatever? And if so, how do you kind of get over these things? Or do you not? You just bulldoze through?
So I do remember being nervous because I was pretty new to California as well. I grew up in Virginia. And so all I remember is being a little bit nervous. But in the background, it was just, it's always tough for me to explain these things because my main advice is to just go for it, because what's the other choice? It's you go for it or you don't, and you kind of stay where you are, and you wouldn't know what would happen if you took a chance. So.
Okay, so you just kind of bite the bullet and you say, hey, listen, body, we're doing this, brain, we're doing this, and I'm going to hit send and,
Absolutely. Yeah. Like there's this narrative in your mind, but I try to, and at the time I just do it. Like make your legs walk to the interview, even if your mind is like, oh, what if something explodes? What if the world ends, this type of thing.
Yeah.
That can keep going on, but just make your legs go. Just go. Yeah.
In the very beginning, that's how I approached artists. I was so nervous and everything, but I would just be like, legs, we're doing this. Mouth, you better say something, or else we're just going to stare.
Yep.
Now, where did the learning kind of start from? Your first kind of memories of when you took art seriously? It could have been when you're a child, you just start taking it seriously, or maybe later on.
When did I take learning seriously? After high school, I waited a year before going to college. I decided I should do art seriously.
Oh, during your time off?
Yeah, a friend of mine was also applying to the art school where I grew up, well, university with an illustration program. And we applied together. And I think it was like one of the foundation classes. The life drawing instructor was a huge inspiration for me. He's classically trained in Russia, and he was very tough but fair. And I learned so much in his class. I just became absolutely engrossed with life drawing, drawing at coffee shops, things like that. Yeah.
Did you just start off as one of his like star pupils?
Oh my gosh, he's the type that would never admit that about any student. If he, man, how to say this? Stern, but high praise is, just like a small nod or something, and that's it. Sounds very like guru. I'm not sure, but I was very. I wanted to impress him because he just seemed so, I guess, discerning. I don't know.
That could be really tough. How do you take criticism? Because some people, I used to teach in college. I know, like some people, they really thrive on positive criticism, which is most people. But some people really, really thrive on challenges and negative criticism.
I might be like a good 60% challenge and maybe 70% or 80% challenge, and the smaller on positive reinforcement. Maybe not so much negative, but definitely someone having a critical and ideally constructive eye on my work. I enjoy that. I like that. It's frustrating at times. Absolutely. I've had a little tear. I mean, one time that life drawing teacher, for homework, he also had people put up their work on the walls. And one day he looked at my work and he just looks at me and he goes, "I'm very disappointed." And that was it. And I was like, okay, I need to work harder. It was
wow.
tough. Yeah, it was good.
What kinds of things did you just happen to have in your life that you thought played a positive part or a challenging aspect to your growth as an artist? Like, you have this teacher, which I would put in the category of challenging, right? Which really helped to apparently grow you as an artist, develop as an artist. Is there anything else that you can think of that played a positive role?
There was another professor that before I went for the job, basically just told me to just go for it, go and work there, even though I was afraid because I grew up quite poor, and I was afraid to take chances, and my mom was quite tough. as far as education goes. But so it was that professor that urged me to go, and notably like the community on conceptart.org. There's so many incredible artists and that are, prolific today. And back then, the community there was very, very helpful, inspiring. There's tips that I've heard that have gotten from people that to this day I just always remember. Yeah, I would say conceptart.org. Yeah.
Is there any moment in your career or in your career or something related to art where you wish you could have taken a picture? So this could be all the way back to whenever you're a tiny little kid picking up that crayon for the first, I don't know, whatever it might be.
Yeah. I have one. I remember drawing and coloring in like this small, like 4x4 piece of paper, The Little Mermaid, waiting in my dad is a mechanic by trade, at least when I was younger. And we didn't have a babysitter, so we were just waiting in the break room. And I drew that, and he saw it, and he was just like, wow, this is so amazing. He was so excited about it. And yeah, I'll always remember that. I wish there was a photo of that. Yeah.
I wish I had a photo of the very first version of my studio, because I felt like it was nothing to take a look at, take a picture of, because it was just a big mess. But I wish I had a picture of that big mess. I'd love to talk about your paintings a little bit. When you start, I'm assuming you're going straight into the computer to do your sketch even. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but that initial sketch, is it strictly line and then you do the tone and paint it into it? Or is the initial sketch line and tone? Or does it depend?
It depends. It depends. Yeah. If I have time, I will incorporate line. But if there's a tighter deadline, I will go straight into painting.
Because you look like your artwork looks like stuff that you would, like when you're sketching, you're painting already, right? Kind of like that painterly sketch kind of feeling, like Sargent or generally painters, using bigger brushstrokes, bringing it down to more and more detail. Is that kind of the method, or do you do something kind of different?
That is the method. So as far as time goes, if I have a lot of time, I'll go in with line. If there's like a deadline, I'll go in with like sketching and painting at the same time. And if it's a really tight deadline, I will just straight up fill in the silhouette and paint on top of that.
Like this
Sometimes.
one, for instance, this king warrior kind of figure here, I'm just guessing, but it looks like perhaps you started this in grayscale initially, and then you started layering on some color, and then you finished it with some direct color.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Looks about right. Yeah.
Cool. And is that usually the method that you go by, or you have a few different kinds of like techniques or sets of techniques?
So I've moved away from starting in grayscale. I can't remember when, maybe 6 years ago or so. I just went straight in with color because I couldn't find a method that would translate from grayscale to color very well.
Yeah, you lose a lot of the vibrancy in the colors that you choose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I generally nowadays, if it's something that is structurally very challenging, then I might start it in grayscale first. I put on a few tones, a few hues, and then I start painting directly with color. But then if it's something a little bit more simple and it's more about the lighting or something like that, then I prefer to start off in color.
That makes sense. As a, I think, person that started with just, I gravitate towards the black and white of like life drawing and whatnot. And so for me, the painting aspect of art has been like a huge journey and a huge like learning journey for me. So I struggle with I used to, maybe still do to some degree, I struggled with saturation in my works. But I think since going straight to color, it's kind of helping me be a bit better at color, if that makes sense.
I think you touched on studying early on in our conversation. Like when you studied, I don't know if you study anymore, but when you studied before, at least, okay, there's life drawing, which is a person standing there right in front of you and it's live. Did you do any studying with photos or any other practices that you can think of that you did quite regularly?
No, I did not study from photos until, gosh, maybe like a year or two ago when I saw another artist doing those portraits, and I was like, maybe I should practice studying from photos, and it really helped a lot.
Amazing. Did you ever study from other painters? Wow, it doesn't look like that much if you did.
Not that much. There was a period when I was working with Ranja. I mean,
wow.
There's a painting or two that looks just like his work. But other than that, not too much.
You know, that's really incredible. I think that's absolutely incredible. And so your painting chops, you kind of just kept doing more and more studies, more and more life drawing until you started to get it.
Yeah, that's it. And working with other artists in studio, just kind of learn how they handle their color and values. I mean, I learned a lot from other studio artists.
Wow. And then so how often were you doing the life drawings? At your height, how often was it, like every day? And if so, how many hours per day?
Well, not every day, though that does sound appealing right about now. I miss it, but I would go at least once a week. At least, maybe twice. So I guess at the height, like twice a week. Yeah.
Naomi, that's not that much.
No? Okay.
No.
3-hour sessions.
That's not that much to be totally... I feel like I could say that because I've interviewed so many other people. Once or twice a week is not that much at all.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which makes me want to ask you the next question. I won't ask you what you think because you won't be able to give me a truthful answer. But if I asked your friends, your cousins, do you believe Naomi is just kind of a lot of God-given talent and then plus effort? If I asked them that, what do you think? They would say yes, right? Like this, she's been talented since the day she was born. Kind of thing. I know this is embarrassing, but it could help a lot of people out there to understand how you are, kind of what makes you you.
I would say, yeah, I think I do believe in the idea that some people, whether I'm part of this or not, I'm not sure, but I do believe that some people are able to perceive things in a different way.
Art Germ once told me, he was like, this is what I think about talent. Everybody has the ability to learn and do awesome at art, but some people are equipped with better hardware than others to begin with. Does that kind of connect with you, or are you thinking something slightly different there?
Honestly, haven't thought past the idea that some folks can like perceive things on a different level. Like with life drawing.
Here's a fun idea. Okay, Naomi?
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you to close your eyes and visualize some stuff. Okay, and I'm gonna ask you what you actually visualized. Okay, so if you could close your eyes right now, visualize a table with a bowl and a bunch of fruit inside the bowl. Let me know when you have it.
Okay.
Okay, now you can open up your eyes. Could you see what material the table was made out of?
Yes.
What was it made out of?
It's not wood. There's wood grain.
And what material was
Tan.
the bowl made out of?
That I didn't see.
And what kind of fruit were in the bowl?
Oranges and bananas.
Could you see color?
Honestly, not that much. No.
Okay, yeah, I'm asking these because it's like that's a more kind of typical-ish question to see how well a person can naturally visualize. I don't see the material. I can see the table, I could see the bowl, I could see the oranges, and I could see material if I really, really concentrated, but it takes a lot of effort. Same with the color. That takes a lot of effort.
You can imagine the texture too, like a matte texture maybe on the table.
Yeah, all my stuff has the same material. It's just matte. It's just a matte surface over everything, I think. I got to put in the effort.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. But this is a fun question to ask people sometimes, because sometimes, like, I'll get, oh yeah, it was a pattern like this and these colors and it smelled like this in the room and everything, you know? And it's like, holy smokes. And then some people, it's like, I don't know, it's just a dark, empty space.
That's a good question. That's fun.
Right? Because it's something that we don't really think about a lot. Like, we know how we visualize, but we don't really think about how much other people can or cannot visualize. So I was just thinking, maybe you visualize extremely clear, you know, and so it gives you better hardware, so to speak, to get better at drawing.
Maybe. I do think that there's like with the figure, there's a sense of imagining, there's like a connection with the figure. Like you're thinking about your own body and aspects of it as you're looking at the figure, and then the emotion of the pose.
Oh yeah. And sometimes I catch myself doing those poses or doing those expressions, especially, you know, as I'm painting the person or the thing. I'm assuming you kind of connect with that one a little bit. Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, this has been really interesting, and your stuff is truly, truly mind-blowing. I want to ask you one last thing. You know, you've worked at some pretty cool places, Marvel, Netflix, Activision, just to name a few. I'm sure along the way you met some very interesting people as well. If you could thank somebody from your past, Naomi, somebody that did something for you or taught you something that was truly special, who would that person be, and what did they do that was so special for you?
Man, so many people. Gosh. I'll
It
just
doesn't have to be the best. You know,
pick
whoever
one.
is listening, this doesn't mean that it's the absolute best. It's whoever you have on top of mind.
Sure. Man, the more I think about it. Okay. I will go with Joe Chen because it was before my career started at all. I was still a student, and I had gotten the opportunity to hang out with her and a friend at some convention. And up until then, I hadn't known of or met any women that liked me and that were humble, successful, beautiful, just a great person, incredibly talented. And so I don't know if she knows this or knows who I am, but I'm incredibly grateful for her example that I got to see. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I'm grateful for this interview, not just for having you on here and learning more about you, but I also feel like this is for all of the people that don't want to kind of like say, stand up and always go, hey, me. People that like to draw, people that just want to have passion for their craft, to just put the hard work in. This is a wonderful example. You're a wonderful example that people can point to now, to say, hey, there are many different ways to succeed in an art career, and yours is as legitimate as any other. So I want to thank you for that. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for the kind words. It's awesome to be able to interview with you.
Yeah, well, it's been a long time coming, right? We worked on this interview for quite a while, so thank you for making the time. I really look forward to seeing where your career takes you from here. It's off to an amazing path.
Thanks, Bobby.